topic of this discussion is what to do next once you become self-aware of when a core belief, a distorted belief, or a wound, a trauma, call it what you want to call it, but when that wound was initially created, or the time frame that it was created. Once you can identify when, where, what time, at what age, where you were at, so to speak, who were all involved, when you're able to identify, give or take, when that core belief was birthed, typically it's before age 8, age 10. It's better if you can take it further into your childhood. Even better if you can remember an incident that happened to you at age 3 or 4. Okay? Age 2, even better. But let's say you were able to root it back, right? To reference it back into a childhood memory before age 6. What to do next? Why is this very important? This is important because I was having a discussion with someone close to me that was mentioning that she was becoming aware of the human behaviorism, essentially. That she was able to understand that we're all projections of each other, really. That we are projecting our fears onto others and vice versa. And that is not a bad thing. That's just something that you start becoming aware of that, of how you become triggered, affected by other people's responses to you according to how safe you felt in childhood. And if these individuals were able to trigger you, that means that you suffered a wound, a distortion, a trauma in your childhood that echoes what you're seeing, what's being projected onto you, or what you're viewing. And you will filter the action, the person, place, or thing that got you triggered. You will filter it through your emotional body. And your emotional body, right, your mind, your felt perception is going to say, this is dangerous. This created a wound. This is a experience that's dangerous to us, and it has the potential to hurt us. So what happens is that your body starts reacting from that memory. So if you are able to notice that you have a pattern of responding a certain way, if you are able to notice that you get triggered by certain people saying X, Y, and Z about you, or certain people expressing themselves in a certain way, if you're triggered, even if they're not directly offending you, even though they're not directly treating you that way, if you get triggered by that, whatever that may be, whatever situation that may be, that is very telling. It's very telling about what you are still wounded in, what distortion, core definition, you're still carrying and you're still navigating your current reality through. The next step is you reparenting, rehabilitating that aspect of you that still remains stuck in time. I like to reference it as an inner child, a malnourished, crying inner child. Okay? That malnourished, fractured, wounded, undeveloped, unmatured inner child needs you. So that child needs you to reparent it. So what's beautiful is you as an adult hold the ability to now reparent it. Yes, your whole system, your whole ecosystem. And considering that you are a whole ecosystem, that has mirrored mom and dad. You have aspects of you that are them. You now consciously could choose to give that child that consciousness that remains stuck, that's malnourished, that's fractured, that's wounded, what it needs to develop and mature with you, with the adult you, with the rest of the consciousness. And how does that look like? Let me give you an example. One example of an issue. Let's say you're a people pleaser. Let's say that you have a need to make everyone feel good. Okay? It's like it's important for you to survive, for you to feel, when I say survive, for you to actually feel calm and relaxed in your body, you have to know that everyone's having a good time. Okay? Let's say that's you. And let's take it a step further. You created the event. You orchestrated a gathering. And in this gathering, you notice that you cannot relax until everyone is having a good time. That is a level of people pleasing. You suffer distress whenever you're noticing that people are not having a good time. When you identify that, when your goal is to have them have a good time, so you can feel the satisfaction and the ease that they're having a good time and they're not going to leave or they're not going to feel disappointed, that stems from somewhere. That stems from a core belief that you created as a child. Especially, I can tell you it stems in childhood, if this always keeps on happening. If you are a person that people pleases and it shows up more so when you have gatherings or you have people over, and you notice that you cannot relax if you don't feel like they're having a good time, and you take it personal, like if for whatever reason there's a disagreement among others, or there's a disagreement with you, it really affects you. So your goal is to have everyone happy. If this is a reoccurring pattern that you became aware of, and then you were able to trace it back when you were a child, and you were able to identify when this would happen, that's you becoming self-aware. Self-aware as to why you behave the way that you do today. And with that, what do you do next? So you're able to identify that when you were 4 years of age, family members used to come over, and you noticed that somehow it affected you when a parent had an argument with the visitor, and the visitor left the home storming out, right? Or just was angry and therefore left your home. You as a child, 4-year-old self, will internalize it as if you were the problem. Yes. So if your parents got affected by the disagreements and the visitor left the home due to chaos, right, that happened, a fight that transpired, a disagreement, as a child, if you're sensitive, you will internalize that experience as if you were the problem, as if shame. You will feel shame that they left, and that affects me, And if you see, and even more so if you see one of the parents feeling sad and feeling bothered and feeling hurt by it, you will internalize that too as it happening to you. You will perceive it as if it's happening to you too, because you're navigating through your life, through your felt perception, through the feelings. So you will own it as if it's you, as if it's your problem. Why is that damaging? I'll tell you why that's damaging. Because you've created now a trauma where, oh no, this is very painful when people have a discussion with one another and they end up not agreeing, and they get angry and the visitor storms off. You define that experience as bad. Why as bad? Because it felt uncomfortable. It felt painful. It felt painful for you because you felt shame that they left. Maybe it's my fault. And it felt painful to see your parents in distress, feeling worried, feeling bad, feeling emotions, negative, uncomfortable emotions. So what did you do is you deemed that experience, disagreement, conflict, as dangerous. That's dangerous. I can lose people. People will leave. People will stop loving you. People will stop loving you. So you dive deeper, you realize, yeah, that's my core belief. My core belief is that I believe that if I become confrontational, if I speak a truth that is not in alignment with the other person that I'm talking to, there's danger. So the best thing to do to stay safe is to silence yourself, is to keep your opposing opinion to yourself, to keep your opposite opinion to yourself, because it what means it's going to be a peaceful environment. But guess what? That act is a detriment. That action will affect you with time, because you're actually affecting the most important person, which is yourself. At your expense, you are abandoning you. Yes, you're abandoning what you feel, what you believe for another. And in a sense, you're betraying yourself for another. And one can say, but I did it because I don't want no conflict. But if this is you, has it been getting easier the older you get, silencing yourself for them? I guarantee you it's a no. I guarantee you that you've only been attracting more of it. You've only been in alignment, meeting up with conflict. And the way you have been addressing it is by avoiding it. But when you do that, what you resist persists. You are being, in a sense, cornered to address it, to create balance in your body. And balance in your body is, for once, voicing your truth, even if it's an opposing truth to the person you're talking to. So what will happen with time when you're suppressing your truth, denying, kind of like not allowing it to come out, is it will bubble up and you'll eventually create or feel resentment towards that person or towards those people that have opposing beliefs than you. You will find yourself feeling resentful towards those individuals who you cannot speak your truth to. And what sucks is it their fault that you can't speak your truth? No. The only person that's not allowing themselves to speak their truth is you. But I don't blame you. I get it. Why? Because when you were little and you were 4 and you saw mom or dad speaking their truth, which was an opposite, a different truth than the visitor, you saw major conflict, you saw pain, you saw rejection, you saw the visitor leaving. You saw mom and dad feel terrible and shame and bad, and you felt it, and you felt everything. And because I was too big for you to assess and process and regulate, you got wounded. And you then told yourself, without telling yourself, directly, but indirectly, you made a contract with yourself and you said, I will not allow this to happen. Next time, I will address it differently. Next time, I'm not going to say anything. And what starts happening is you believe that the solution is to not voice your contradictory or your opposing belief, or a belief that is not in alignment with theirs. You believe that that's the solution. But with time, it blows up in your face, obviously. Because then you start feeling resentment. You start feeling, it's not your truth, you see? It's not your truth. It is not your true nature to do that. Your true nature is to know that you have the power of free will and freedom of choice to speak your truth. But your pain, your trauma, your wound at this very moment is bigger. If you can't say anything, or if you feel like you're cornered to speak your truth because it might create conflict. So if you're aware and you were able to source where it comes from, what's the second step? And this is powerful, or the next step. The next step is to close your eyes and visualize yourself, in a sense, through your process of visualization. Close your eyes and bring that wounded inner child that experienced that conflict as a child, bring her into your awareness. So it's a process of visualization. You visualize her in front of you. And what do you do when you can see her in your visualization? When you're able to see her in your visualization, connect with her. Let her know, and I'm saying her because I started with an example of her. Connect with her, or him, right? By letting her, him know, I see you. I know why it is hard for you to speak your opinion or your beliefs, especially if it's opposing to the person you're talking to, especially if it's different than the person you're talking to, because it cost us pain. It made us feel very, very scared and hurt and rejected and shame. And then we saw our parents feel shame. And we personalized it. We took ownership of that, because that's what kids do. Us kids tend to internalize and take ownership of the issues that our parents were undergoing. Somehow we feel like it's our fault. Here's the proof. Here's one example. Do you know anyone, or you, if this is you, your parents got divorced at an early age, and somehow you felt that it was your fault? If that is you, and your parents even told you it wasn't your fault, but you still feel like it was your fault, that's called trauma. That's called a wound. That's called you taking ownership of their issues. That's you being connected to mom and dad, and when they had to separate, you felt, through the process of navigating through your felt perception, the pain of separation. And if you had parents that were blaming each other, if you were connected to both of your parents, and you are, since you're their offsprings, you will internalize that it was your fault when you're hearing one of the parents accusing the other. So that is why somehow you believe it's your fault, because it felt as if it was happening to you. That's really what I'm trying to say. It felt as if it was happening to you, even though it was your parents. You don't know the difference. You can't differentiate at times. You did something that was dangerous to, that was not okay, you're bad. In other words, when you were little and you had a parent, and I know I say this in my previous sessions, if you had a parent that punished you or reprimanded you for doing something dangerous, like, turning on the stove, without an adult there, and they reprimanded you for it, like, that's not what you do, that's dangerous, you will internalize it as if you're bad, you're wrong. And instead of that action was dangerous, that action will cause harm, right? You will internalize it as I'm bad. So anyway, going back to what do? You visualize that little girl that experienced that traumatic experience when she was 4, her boy, and you bring her into the room through the process of visualization, you let her know that you understand her, you feel into her. You don't force her to feel anything else. You are present with her unconditionally as you're feeling that all over again. Because that's what will happen. Once you're connecting with her, you will feel that sensation all over again. By you allowing that feeling to come up and not trying to distract yourself, that's you literally being present with yourself unconditionally. It is you giving yourself what you never really got by mom or dad, or your parents, or any authority figures for that matter. The goal is to parent yourself the way you would have desired to be parented and nurtured by your parents. Again, what you're essentially going to do is you would be reparenting yourself as the adult you, and you're visualizing in your inner child, your 4-year-old self. What you will do is you, again, be with her unconditionally, be present, allow yourself to feel what she's feeling. Don't try to change her. Don't try to change her emotions. Don't try to change her opinion. Just validate where she's at. Tell her you understand. You finally know where it began. Be there until you're ready for the following. Until you're ready to ask her, what else do you need from me to feel safe, to feel better? You ask her, and trust me, while you have your eyes closed, asking your 4-year-old self, what do you need? What can I give you to make you feel better, to make you feel safe, to make you feel relief? Don't look for the answer. Just allow the answer to surface. It'll be like a random thought. Then do that. If for some reason you hear her say, I just want you to be here with me, unconditionally, just feel me, that's what you do. If you hear her say, hold me, that's what you do. If you hear her say, play with me, that's what you do. You are essentially giving your 4-year-old self what she never got. And you're reparenting her in the exact way you would have wanted to be parented. Yes. Why is this powerful? Because you still have that little girl inside of you. If you're re-experiencing as an adult a pattern, and you can identify that you get triggered and you feel rejected when people come over and or they don't come over, or they get upset with you because, they feel you were betrayed them. And let's say you keep on attracting the same storyline, or you keep on silencing yourself to keep the peace. And then now you're resentful, and now they're upset with you, but you're like, how are they resentful with me if all I've done was agree with them to keep the peace? That will happen. And you're able to identify it's a reoccurring pattern. The following step will be to reparent that little girl. Is through the process of visualization, you go back there and you hang out with her. Yes, you make her your best friend. Every day, every hour on the hour, if you can, you think of her. You check in with her. You present with her. Just feel her. This is not a 1-week thing. This is not a 1-month thing. This is a constant thing. This is what will happen when you do this without fail. Because I did it and it worked. You will feel different. When you know that it's working, you're going to feel supported. And this is, and mark my words, you will have another event. You will find yourself talking to someone, and somehow you'll feel safe enough to speak what you really feel. And you will not be scared in the same level that you were when you were silent. You will find yourself feeling safer in your body and being you and honoring you. And then when you are met with a person that believes differently than you, you'll find yourself not feeling triggered the same way. That's how you know that it's working. And it works. It really, really works. I really want you to understand that when you're really checking in with you and literally acting like that 4-year-old self is with you constantly, and you're checking in with her, she becomes your best friend, your life is going to change. Basically what you're doing is you're reprogramming the memory that your nervous system had stored. You're recalibrating, reprogramming the memory that your nervous system has about certain incidences. Because what your nervous system's doing, what your emotional body is doing, is reacting from past memory. It's behaving the same way. It's such as anxiety. Your body's saying, this is dangerous, this is dangerous, this is not safe. Evacuate. Push them away, or whatever. But that's what your body is responding. Your body is responding according to the belief you've been feeding it all along. So your body's only doing what you've been telling it to do. So by you doing this process of visualization, hanging out with your inner child, that 4-year-old self, pulling her in, constantly being with her, checking in with her, validating her, feeling her, and also telling her, what do you need, and doing it. And another thing of how it looks like to do what she wants is if all of a sudden you remember when you were 4 that you loved acting like you were cooking, or you loved playing with the ball, play with the ball. Relive those memories and play with her. Again, you're recalibrating when you do this. You're reprogramming the body. And here's where I'm going to give you, and this is what I told this individual. This is the proof of what I'm saying is indeed the case. I'm going to give you 2 examples. Hopefully they land. I want you to visualize this. Follow me. Let's say you have a lemon. I want you to visualize, close your eyes, visualize grabbing a lemon. Look at the lemon. The lemon is yellow. Now I want you to grab a knife and grab salt. Next, I want you to visualize cutting the lemon in half, adding the salt, and squeezing the lemon juice inside of your mouth. Squeeze it. Tell me how your body's responding. My body responded by literally, I started feeling the sour sensation in my throat and the saliva. I started generating more saliva. My body was responding as if indeed I had a lemon, as if I actually cut the lemon in half and squeezed the lemon juice inside my mouth. My body actually responded. So you see, this is powerful because we didn't have a lemon. Our body only responded from memory. Our body stored the memory of what happens when you eat lemon. So all it takes is for you to think about lemon, and then you're going to feel that sour taste. That is the sensation of what intaking lemon feels like in the body, and how it just responds. Do you see that? So in other words, why is this powerful? This is powerful because you didn't have to do it. It didn't have to happen for your body to respond the very same way when you were initially introduced to lemon. What that then means is if you're seeing a confrontation happening before you, and because your body had as a child, it responded from it registered a painful experience, your emotional body registered a painful experience, then it's going to say, when it's seeing it today in real time as an adult, it's going to say, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. And then you're going to feel anxiety and you're going to feel worried. And essentially, you're at the mercy of that 4-year-old you. You see that? So if you want to be able to respond differently and not have your body or your emotional body hijack you, then you need to give it a different story, a different experience. Different experience. And then you then create a different core belief. You see that? Second example. Who has heard about the phantom limbs? Whenever people suffer freak accidents or random just accidents, and all of a sudden you lose your leg or your arm, and but somehow you feel itchy. Your index finger feels itchy when you don't even have an index finger. It's just something that you used to experience when you used to have an index finger. Or there's pain on your finger and you don't have a finger anymore. That, my friends, is memory that's been imprinted in your emotional body. And your mind has not registered any other experience. So what is the doctors or therapists, what do they advise you to do? To look at your arm, your hand that no longer has that index finger, so it can finally register that you don't have a finger. The goal is to do this all the time until your mind registers that you don't have an index finger. Do you see this? Do you understand what I'm saying? This is powerful, because when you suffered a freak accident, you went through a traumatic experience. Your body underwent a traumatic experience. And so what happened is that you lost your index finger, but yet when you suffer phantom limb, all of a sudden you still feel sensations in the missing limb as if it's there. You feel itchy, you feel pain, you feel sensations, you're grabbing something, and all of a sudden, right, you grab a jar, but somehow you feel like the missing finger is holding on to the jar too. Yeah, that's because your body is responding from memory. And so, hopefully these examples land as to what is happening to you. How when you're little, and you're navigating through life with your felt perception, with your emotional body, through feelings, because your cognitive ability hasn't developed yet, you're going to create core beliefs from that moment, from that time-space reality of your childhood. So that's essentially why I say core beliefs were created, birthed back in your toddlerhood, childhood. Okay, because we were never taught how to process our emotions. And our emotions, our feelings, is what we had as when we were toddlers or infants trying to navigate. We would ask our needs to be met through our felt perception, the wisdom of our body. Okay, so not until the cognitive aspect develops is when you're able to now create stories, or you're able to rationalize and compartmentalize. But when you're little, you experience everything through your feelings. And if something impactful happened to you, it doesn't matter how big or how small, it could be something really small, but if no one helped you assess it or regulate that, you're carrying that experience with you still today. And so now going back to what to do when you have sourced a pattern, a dysfunctional pattern, or a reactivity, right? If you're constantly reacting to something, you try to get to the root of that experience when it was birthed, and then you bring it back again. And you call forth that inner child that was and you're with her for as long as she needs you to be. You're with her unconditionally present. You're present. You're not judging her. You're not trying to force her to feel any other way. And then you ask her what she needs to feel better. Once you feel like she understands that you are with her unconditionally, how we would have wanted our parents to be there, right? But they didn't know. They only are parenting from their level of awareness, how their parents parented them. And I love this. There was a gal, I forgot her name, who said how your mother was a child before she was a mother, you see. So they're only parenting from where they were, how they were parented. So again, you're with that child until you need to be. The same way you're with your limb, the missing limb, until your body registers, oh, it's not there anymore. Because it will. But it takes to build that muscle. You see. So yes, you are with your inner child, hanging out with her. She's your BFF. You're validating her, and you're also asking her, what do you need right now? Right now, let's say, you're at day 20, right? Doing this, hanging out with her. What do you need right now? What do you want to experience today? Trust me, that consciousness that remains stuck, that has you stuck in a loop, that is a fragmentation, will tell you what she needs, what he needs. You will from nowhere hear, oh, I need this. I need that. You need that. And you just do it. And I promise you that if you do this, if you visualize that little girl, that little boy, and again, you got to source it. Let's say you're aware of a current pattern that's happening right now, and then you source it to where it kind of originated. If you can't get to the root, that's okay. As long as you're able to get to a childhood memory, and then you're there hanging out with that kid, and you're validating that kid. You're not trying to change how that kid feels. You're with it until you feel a relief. Now you tell that child, what do you need to feel better? What do you need from me to feel more secure and safe? And then that's when you obviously give it ask it what it needs to feel better. But that kid, that aspect of you that remains inside of you, needs to know that you're with it unconditionally. That you don't need it to be different. You don't need her or him to be different for you to love him or her. That's a trap. We end up falling into this trap where we're doing this so it can be different. We're doing this so that little girl could get over it. That's not love. Love is not conditional. I'm going to just tell you the honest truth. Love accepts exactly how it is. That's real love. Jesus kind of love. It accepts it just how it is. So what I'm saying is your consciousness, the fractured consciousness, is aware enough to know if you're only doing it for and you have an ulterior motive. You're only doing it so it can change and you now feel worthy for it to be loved. See, if we want it to change, if we need it to change, we're ultimately saying, I need you to change so I can feel better. And that's the only way I'll accept you, is if we feel better. Because you're a problem in my life. Essentially, that's what you're doing when you are trying to manipulate it. Yes, I'm going to use that word because we all do it. Try to manipulate that part to feel better. It's aware enough. It can tell when you're not really genuine with your presence, with your compassion, and with your advice. It can tell. So that's why I invite you to cultivate that. Be present. The goal here is to know that what your child really wanted when it was little is to be loved unconditionally and be accepted unconditionally, and to navigate its emotional body, guidance to resolve these impactful experiences that were very wounding. That's what it ultimately wanted. And you do that, you give it. Does that make sense? Hopefully this provided perspective. If you're still tuned in, put a little heart to let me know that you are understanding this, that you're understanding. There's more that I'm going to be discussing in a following video. And I'm excited. Thank you for tuning in, for listening, and I am very grateful if you took the time to invest in you and watching this video. Know that we're all in this together, and at the end of the day, we just want to be understood and accepted. So with all the love and full acceptance, Josie.